Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll.
Ram Kasoon. Here. Tobin.
Here.
Kleiner.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
John Francois.
Here.
Burr.
Here.
Green.
Here.
Massey.
Here.
President Rodriguez.
Here.
And we have a quorum.
Approval of minutes.
Tonight we have 3 council meeting minutes to approve: March 16th, 2021, April 20th, 2021, and May 4th, 2021.
Motion by Alderman Green, seconded by Alderman Massey to approve all 3. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Correspondence.
Nothing this evening.
For the good of the city, anyone would like to address the council, please step forward. You have 3 minutes.
Yes. I'm Kenneth Sweeney, 39 Burnt Corners Road, Middletown, New York. My wife Cindy Sweeney, same address. We're here as representatives of Harvey A. Shower, 9 Claremont Court. It's a little tough for him to get up and speak.
I am his daughter.
The reason we're here tonight is unequal application of city ordinances and laws. While I was away, my father-in-law gets a memorandum of violation because he had water on top of his pool cover. And this has been a continual harassment of my father-in-law for years now. My father-in-law built his house 61 years ago, never had a problem. 50 years ago, he put an in-ground pool, never had a problem. None of the residents, none of the neighbors, nobody had a problem with the pool. About 10, 12 years ago, an individual built a house on Ashland, the last house on the left as you go down, right next to the wetlands. They had a pipe, a drainage pipe that actually came out of Davidge Park, and they capped it. Then the neighbor across Ashland, at 10 Ashland, started having water problems. When the original subdivision went in, there was a 4-foot spillway that was supposed to run behind all the houses on Ashland and all the houses on Claremont Court. That was supposed to remain clear and open for drainage. It's been filled in by numerous neighbors. City doesn't seem to want to enforce that part of the zoning. But I'm away. I'm down in Texas burying my brother, and my father-in-law calls up frantic because he has this violation. I was able to get my son to come into his house, put a sump pump on, and pump the water into the pool. But it's a continuum. I know the individual that constantly calls up. One day there must be something dead in his yard, call the cops. There's vultures on his shed, go find out. Another time is, he's spraying toxic fumes. My mother-in-law, my wife, and my father-in-law are painting their foundation. Another time is, they're must be spraying something dangerous. Go up, my father-in-law is spray painting picture frames that he built. And on and on and on. This individual seems to feel that his water problem is my father-in-law's fault because the pool is an in-ground pool and it's a raised elevation. The ditch has been open. I have pictures of, so we called up the Mr. Post, who wrote the citation. Asked him, how did you see the pool? If you look from the road, I have pictures you all can have. You can't see the pool from the road. So did he trespass? Because he's got to have permission to go on his property to inspect. I had a complaint. So my wife pressed him. First off, we tried calling the council persons for our ward. One's answering machine was full, couldn't leave a message. The other one left a message, never got a call back, because we're just trying to figure out what the heck's going on. Tried to call the gentleman, Mr. Post, who cited this. Oh, he's sick today. Okay.
But I also had
there was a time that he was supposed to come back on the following Tuesday. We flew back in on Sunday, called on the Monday. The Tuesday, he's supposed to come back.
It was Monday, yeah. It was on 10 o'clock on the 24th.
Which is what day?
That was a Monday.
Oh, on the Monday. He was supposed to be there for a reinspection. My wife went in there to wait for him. Noontime, still hadn't showed up. So she calls. Oh, he called out sick. Couldn't somebody let us know that he wasn't showing up? Guess not. So when will he be back in? Oh, he's going to be sick through Thursday. Wow, I wish I could predict how long I'm going to be sick. So on Thursday, we're anticipating a phone call. Zots. Finally, Friday, maybe. Finally
Well, I called on Thursday afternoon and left a message on Mr. Post's answering machine. Did not get anything back on Friday. Around 3 o'clock on Friday, I called I asked for Susan, who I spoke with originally in the department that answered. She's very nice, and she actually is the only one from the town that has returned any phone calls for me. So I asked to speak to her. She wasn't in. So the woman said, well, Mr. Post is in his office. So he answered the phone then. And when I spoke to him, after going around and around, he actually never came to see the water problem. He just took the hearsay of the person that made the complaint. Now, if he had actually gone onto that person's property, he would have known he has a swamp back there, and he cannot mow the lawn.
The only way that he could have legally seen the pool was to go through my father-in-law's backdoor neighbors, which is Mr. C on Ashland. To walk across his property, he would have had to have hip waders in.
He would have had to give him a violation.
He would have had to been violated for that. Plus, his grass was was higher than the adjoining neighbor that got a violation because his grass was too tall. Why didn't Mr. C get those violations? So so that's how we pressed him. Where's the pictures? Oh, I don't need pictures. So it's hearsay.
So
What is
that's why
hearsay?
I
If you
feel
have
we're.
no pictures, it's hearsay. I can say never happened. Where's his proof that it did? I mean that's pathetic. And it's pathetic on Mr. C's part because it seems to be kind of stupidity that we keep doing the same thing and expecting a different results. He constantly badgers my father-in-law and never wins because he's always wrong.
So I'm going to pass these around, and you can see where the neighbor has put a water pipe through our fence, my father's fence, and pumping his problem onto our water problem, and where I threw the hose back out, so it goes back on his problem, and then he returned it because we own 6 inches on the other side of the fence, so that's still on our property. Then you can see where he has a sump pump, he has an electric line in his shed, sump pumping the water, which goes through the pipes and to the backyard. And then you see the tall grass, and then there's one of his neighbor next to him who has blocked the water flow halfway up the
For that
fence.
ditch that the city is supposed to make sure is clear for a drainage, which they never do. But the inspector never saw that, never so blind his eyes that cannot see.
And then we also have, if you're going by this violation that we got, that person next to Mr. C, which is 12 Ashland Avenue, from the road, you can see the pile of brush laying right there.
In the ditch.
No, that one's not in the ditch. But then we also have 14 Ashland Avenue with another same violation, which says brush and other accumulations. And then if you go down at the end of Claremont Court and Ashland Avenue, where your drainage ditch is, and you see that, this one is hard to see, but you can see that there's a tree right in that drainage ditch that is half dead, half alive. And then if you look at this picture, and this picture here is all the brush from the dead tree that piles up, which is another violation. And I didn't even go on anybody's property. I just stood on the road and took these pictures.
See, if Mr. Post had made his way out of his office, he might have seen some of this, and it could have corrected the problem. Therefore, we wouldn't have gotten, the hard time from Mr. C on Ashland.
And then this is a picture of the tree that is actually dead. And then I don't want to really complain about my other neighbor because she's very nice, but her pool didn't get a violation, and she has water and debris on hers. And so all of this, I feel, is a constant harassment, and I feel that the city needs to start doing something to fix the problem.
And after Mr. Post hung up, or my wife got disgusted and hung up, kind of like, well, She said, we'll take care of it on Tuesday meeting. We would come and talk with you. And then she hung up, he hung up, whatever. Then, a few minutes later, he calls back. I think he realized he stuck his foot in his mouth. Now he's starting to talk to her and says, oh, by the way, you know, there's garbage inspectors out there too. What's that, more intimidation? He's trying to intimidate us, to have us not come to the city council. And with a threat that if we come to you guys for some resolution, that he'll send the inspector on the garbage cans, that they have to be 35 foot from the street and they can't be seen from the street. No. He's just covering himself. The man never left the office. He takes care of an acquaintance. He wouldn't tell us who lodged the complaint. It's not real hard to figure out. Mr. C tried to get all the neighbors to sue my in-laws, saying that the water problem was theirs because of the pool. You know, it's just a perpetual. An 89-year-old man has to put up with that kind of garbage. Pretty sad. Thank you. Thank you for listening to us.
I hope that you all address the water issue that goes between all of those properties. My son is a civil engineer.
Does anybody want to see these?
He said anybody that isn't a civil engineer knows enough that if you are higher here and lower down there, if everything is open, the water will flow. And if you don't give everybody a violation for opening that ditch.
Because by them filling that ditch in, they got an extra 4 foot of property, the 4 foot of backyard. And you know, Mr. C can't see where the problem really lies.
Thank you. The council heard it. I believe the commissioner of the DPW heard it, and also the mayor heard it. We'll definitely address the issue. Anyone else would like to address the council? Do we have anybody online?
We do not.
Okay. Remarks to the mayor.
We'll just give him 1 minute, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
What time?
Okay. Good evening. Yesterday, I joined with members of the Common Council, including our only veteran on the board, Mr. Massey, and I know Dr. Johnson, Mr. Tobin, Jean-Francois, Mr. Kleiner were all there, and the others sent their best wishes and wish they were there. But to attend the Veterans Day at the American Legion, and as you know, as we remembered and honored our heroes. As you know, Memorial Day is the day we honor and pay respect to those very brave men and women who paid the ultimate price, and to remember the pain and suffering that their families went through and continue to go through. It was an excellent day ceremony by the Legion. It was a solemn day and a day of remembrance and a day to say thank you. And I want to thank the council members that were there, along with the public that was there, and thank the board for their support of that we offered to these local veteran groups on both Memorial Day and Veterans Day. This year, the past 2 years has been a little bit different. They've limited the attendance, and hopefully next year we'll all be back to normal. Even hopefully by November, we'll be back to normal in regards to honoring those veterans in November. As we move on, the garbage non-compliance issue. You have in your emails the brochure that we did send out on social media. And basically, we've had quite a few weeks now with the new system, at least to the majority of the properties in the city. The Downtown Business Improvement District does not have their cans. Anyone who can accommodate it now within the district is entitled to get one. But most properties are waiting for us to do the sanitation plan or give them some guidance on that. And we're waiting for the smaller cans to come in before we start doing enforcement in the downtown. But basically, for the neighborhoods, You can look at the pictures and you can see this is what we're trying to avoid. This is the reason why we did it. This is where we're going with the one TV is off, I think, is it? And this is where we're going with the program to avoid things like this. And this is just unacceptable. So the idea as we move forward is the brochure that is available on social media and on our website will be delivered, hand delivered to properties such as this and properties that do not fall into compliance with the guidelines and the rules. And they will get a personal visit by the code department, just advising them of what the law is and what's available to them. Like one or two of these look like either a commercial or maybe a multiple dwelling. They have access to additional cans if they need them. It is an additional charge under the system that we adopted. But properties like this, that garbage will not be picked up. As you can see, the blue can is out. We are accepting right now, up until June 13th, we are allowing the blue cans, the recycle cans, to be used for pickup. We may allow them to be used during high volume weeks like Christmas or holiday season. And we're developing that final plan. But for now, once June 13th comes, any garbage that is not in the green can will not be picked up. The property owner will get a follow-up visit. They will probably get a warning. They will be advised they have to bring the garbage back in or dispose of it in another way if possible. But, or they can probably do it for a charge if they want it picked up immediately. But we are not going to continue to pick up trash as you see in these pictures. I recommend people go online and read the sanitation plan that we put in place. And as I said, effective the green can is for household garbage only. The blue is for recycling. I had probably a 10-minute discussion with a lady on regarding this who operates a small business out of her home. And she was insistent that she's A, not paying for another can, and B, that I'll put my garbage in the recycling can if you don't pick up my garbage. Well, we will not pick up recycling, and it is a violation if you have garbage in your recycling bin. So you need to recycle appropriately. It's not complicated. Most communities go with the one can system, go with a much smaller can than we have. They usually go with like a 60-plus gallon can. We're going with the 95-gallon can with a large wheel. It's easily maneuverable. But if not, you have the option of going to a smaller can if you don't produce a lot of waste. But as you see in the picture here, the second reason why we went to this system was our workforce. And in this picture, you can see what it's like in the wintertime to lift these heavy cans. And the one analysis that we did when we came to the idea of going in this direction was 50% of our workmen's compensation claims for that year were related to the sanitation department. That number has since come down because we started putting the lifts on the back of the trucks, but we will be going to the automated arm later this year when the trucks do come in. But in the meantime, all of the trucks are equipped with a lift, and the sanitation department is not allowed to lift the can into the truck. They have to use the automatic lift, and it is one can per single-family home, one green can, unless, as I did, you pay the extra $100 per year for the additional can. That one can is the guidelines are that one can will handle about a family of at least 5 to 7 people, according to the normal guidelines of the sanitation standards that they have throughout the country. And that's especially if you recycle. So you have the opportunity to also reduce your trash flow by recycling more. Some of the questions have been the pickup schedule. They remain the same. Nothing has changed in regards to pickup. Doesn't mean somewhere down the line it may change, but as of now, it is the same pickup schedule that we've been using. The size of the cans that we've talked about is we have exchanged some, but we have run out of the 65-gallon and the 35-gallon cans for now. They are on back order. So, but when they do come in, If you're not a large producer of trash, you can swap your larger can for the smaller can. You cannot, unfortunately, swap 2 smaller cans for one of the larger cans. The idea is also, but we do have some accommodations for handicap folks in the law also to make an appeal. But basically it's 1 can per person, or 1 set of cans per single family home, 2 sets of cans for a commercial or mixed use property, and then they can also, a multifamily property can also purchase additional cans. That can all be done through the Department of Public Works. Another point we'd like to emphasize in riding around over the last few days, early in the morning, notice people are using them for yard waste. They are not to be used for yard waste at all. The yard waste you put in your old garbage cans if you like, or bag it, but do what is necessary to, you cannot use either the green or the blue can for yard waste, period. It will not be picked up, and you'll be left sitting there with it on your curb. You also need to bring the containers back. They referenced, the people that spoke earlier referenced 35 feet. I believe it's 30 feet, or if you don't have the ability to have 30 feet, they have to be in a presentable way, as much as possible hidden from the street view. It's just normal normal laws that have been in place for many, many years here. Obviously, we don't want people leaving their garbage cans on curbside 7 days a week. So you need to bring them back in within a reasonable amount of time, which is the next day. Your trash is usually picked up very early in the morning, and hopefully by that evening you'll have the cans back into your own yard when you come back from work. The Business Improvement District is different, and we'll get into that when we approach that. You should keep the lid closed, and prevents overfilling, and it prevents animals from getting in. And as I mentioned earlier, we will be mentioning additional pickups and how we would go about it with the additional pickups, whether that be an additional pickup day or allowing for the use of the blue can that week for additional garbage. The brochure will be available to the council members to hand out to your constituents for now. The original print is going to go for education to people who are having problems with, or that might not be aware of the law, don't watch Channel 20, or not on social media. So we're hoping to do that in a personal visit. But at some point, it's after June 13th, people are going to know that if by the fact that their garbage did not get picked up, that it's they weren't following the appropriate procedures. Parks and Recreation. The basketball hoops are back up as of May 19th, once the governor made the change in the standards. So you can call the Parks Department 346-4180 for other issues, but that was the one many of you inquired about on a regular basis, was the basketball hoops. And once the governor released it, we put them up that very day. We are having a problem, though, with some summer employment, as everyone else in the country is having the same problem and the same issue. And unfortunately, the problem of lifeguard recruitment could affect our ability to open all 3 pools for summer programs. These are some of the efforts that our Parks Department has made regarding the opening of the pool. And but as you know, without lifeguards, we can't safely open the pools. So if you know any young person, old person, doesn't matter who it is, as long as they're has some training and have the certification, we would be interested in talking to them. And you can contact the Parks Department at 346-4180. It's important. We're already putting in a plan to reduce not only hours, but to possibly close maybe 1 or maybe 2 pools and only going with 1 at Fancher Davidge. That's how critical the lifeguard situation is. So please, if you know anybody looking for some work and also wants to help out the youth in our community, give them a Parks Department a call. We are going to have the fireworks once again. As you know, you did budget it. At budget time, we talked about the possibility of having them. Well, we are going to be able to do so on July 2nd, which I believe is Thursday night. Friday, I'm sorry. Maria's in the back correcting me. Fireworks only. There will be no live entertainment, no vendors, no activities. People are welcome to go up to the park, social distance. But of course, if you don't have a vaccine, you need to wear a mask as per the CDC guidelines. But the fact that we will have people mingling around up there doesn't mean that everything with COVID is A-OK. So you need to follow the guidelines. If you don't have a vaccine, wear a mask. If your kids over the age of 2 need to wear a mask, and it should be a nice night. It would be a little break for something that we all missed last year. On Saturday, Juntine Celebration will be the first for the city. And as you know, with the Tulsa riots getting a lot of attention, something that in our history that none of us, I don't think any of us, learned in high school, and the disaster that happened there. And if you watch the CNN Dreamland series that started the other night, it's really, it tears your heart out. But Juneteenth is not that, but they are related in a way. So the Juntine celebration, basically marking the end of slavery, the real end of slavery, when they went into Texas, will be on the 19th. We are a co-sponsor along with the Business Improvement District, and the organization is on the screen. Nobody, I can't read it. Because it matters 24/7. I had my organizations mixed up there for a second. But that's Anthony Williams and his wife Yaya Williams, and they are the organizers, and it should be a nice event. We're keeping it small. We're going to be practicing the COVID practices. A limited number of people will be at Festival Square. It's not a party, but it is a celebration, as it says, of Juneteenth. So obviously there's more to just Festival Square than, the surrounding area we can also accommodate. But if you do attend and it's busy, just please mingle around so you can participate in a way, but maybe not directly at the event. But this will be our first of what we hope will be an annual event. It starts at 11 a.m., goes to 3 p.m., and I want to thank the organizers for being such an important part of bringing this into the city. We, if you notice, the city is, as I said, this one of the sponsors along with the bid district. We are doing not many of these types of events this year for a variety of reasons, one being COVID, one being the restrictions that are imposed by the CDC, the amount of time and the effort that will take, the fact that we have employee shortages in many areas. So it's a combination of things. So we are not, this is probably the only new event that we're doing. And we're getting tons of calls from people about wanting to do, whether it's a fundraiser or this or that. Some people are calling about using, charge events. They want to do a fundraiser where they can charge people. If you do get those calls, we do not rent out city facilities for people to do charged events. So they can charge, per head to get in. That's what the Paramount Theater is for, if they want to rent the Paramount Theater. But we don't rent out our parks. What we're doing, we're starting to review the guidelines that we have in Parks and Rec and with the bid district who operates the Festival Square. They manage that. And with the pavilion coming up, we're anticipating more of that. So we are putting together a package that we're hoping the council will adopt, in the next month or so, that will outline the requirements, including reviews by different departments, that, we're not going to be in a position where we can keep subsidizing these events every week and the number of events we get. So we can be very selective in what we want to co-sponsor, and I think some of the ethnic issues that we're doing now make a lot of sense. But, we do the Girl Scouts, the Nino de las Ninas, the Girl Scouts. We do the cleanup, community cleanup. Those are the types of things that we will be involved in, at least from my perspective. Hopefully you'll adopt some guidelines because I'm telling you, in the pavilion, the cement was poured for the pavilion today, and that just started an awful lot of chatter with people wanting to rent it, people wanting to have parties, that's not what it's for. It's a community facility. Festival Square is a community facility. These are not for private events. So you'll be getting more on that. Dawson Avenue sidewalk improvements are going well. It looks nice while being ripped up, but as you see the sidewalks go down, they're doing an excellent job. We're getting a few concerns about the business entries. They are steel plated. I don't know if you're getting any direct complaints, just forward them to the Commissioner of Public Works immediately. We had one today. It ended up being really not valid, but we do try to follow up immediately on the safety issues. So if anyone in the public has a complaint, please call either the police, if it's outside of hours, or DPW, and we will address the construction areas immediately. Cannabis, local law. I know some of you have responded to me about your opinions on it, and believe me, I have a pretty strong opinion on it, but the local law process is where a local law gets introduced to you by a member. I introduced this to you. I don't know if a member has sponsored it yet, but hopefully one will for the reading, to get it on the agenda for a reading. The process basically is cities, towns, and villages can opt out by December 31st. I understand there are different opinions on this too, and the local law process is kind of crazy because the public hearing is held by me as mayor, but it's not held until after you adopt the local law. So since I'm introducing it to you, and I guess the idea was that whether to convince me whether it's a good local law or a bad local law, not me personally, but the mayor's position. That's why the public hearing was being held afterwards. Since I'm introducing to you, I think we should have a a public hearing on this prior to the vote. So there's no timeline other than December 31st. So I would appreciate Council President would hold a public hearing on the local opt-out. There are other options. One member talked about the opting out of the cafe type situation and allowing for the buy and go. And there are different options. There are revenues associated with this. Maybe those are important to some people. One member spoke about the intent of the legislation was to reinvest that tax money back into Black and brown communities. I think that's more on a statewide level. I don't think that's on a local level. On the local level, I don't know how you do that, but if there's a plan, I think the public hearing or prior to the public hearing would be the opportunity for all of you to lay out your individual positions, if you have one, that's different from what I'm proposing, so that people can come and comment on those positions and those options. But the dispensaries are, Alex is also working with me on a second changes in the law, and John's working with us on that also, and through the chief, in which we are identifying all city properties and city parks. For example, we don't want, if you're not aware of it, you're allowed to smoke pot wherever you can smoke cigarettes under the state law now. So if you're allowed to smoke cigarettes on the skateboard, on the sidewalk next to the skate park, you would be allowed to smoke pot on the sidewalk next to the skate park or next to the Little League field, as long as you're off the field premises. So we're proposing a distance, and I think Alex is doing the research on it, similar to what we do at schools, and I think there's even something in the law about within 500 feet of a school or a church that you can't have a dispensary either. So there are some protections in that way. So we're going to come back to you with some recommendations about where kids are and the ability for someone to smoke marijuana in that area. We're going to get people that are going to act stupid, especially at the beginning. They're going to flaunt it. They're going to We already had one person stand in front of the police station smoking pot, saying, hooray for me. So we're going to get that stupidity where the people are going to challenge, some of the things that we're going to be doing or what we're going to be proposing. But I'm open enough to listen to what the public in Middletown has to say. Doesn't mean I'll agree with it in the end, but I would like to hear what they have to say, so I would encourage you to do a public hearing. So in the law itself, as I said, you have to opt out by the 31st. But what's interesting is if you opt out by the 31st, you can opt back in at some future point. So if we say, hey, we made a mistake, this thing is going to generate, $500,000 a year for Middletown, and we can do this program, that program, this program, and help our taxpayers, and maybe it's worth it because people are still smoking pot here, then that would be another discussion. But I don't agree with that point of view, but that's certainly a valid argument open for discussion. We can opt out of one or both of the dispensary or the cafe type on-site consumption, and we can always opt back in. But you can't opt out after 12/31. So once you opt out for 12/31, you're out until then, and then at some point in the future, you can opt back in. So that's my view on it. I'm hoping, thank you for the folks who did respond, but I'm hoping that we will now do it in a public way. It is a big issue. Just remember $5 million in sales at one of these locations will generate $150,000 in revenue to the city. And I don't know what the projections are for one of these facilities for their projected sales for a year, but 5 million seems to be a high number for me. Just at the top of my head, knowing what businesses do. And I guess the question is whether it's worth that $150,000 or maybe more, maybe less. So the ball's in your court. Hopefully you'll have a first reading tonight. Second reading can be any time after you have the public hearing, and then we can see where we stand. As for COVID, we got the caseload again. It's statewide, nationwide, they're all good. Numbers are good, trending well. City Hall is reopened. We no longer have the gentleman sitting in the hallway screening visitors. All visitors to the building must wear a mask, whether vaccinated or not. We are not checking, so we're just requiring you to wear a mask. Employees, we have our own internal employee policy for those that have vaccine and those that don't have vaccines. It's been discussed with the union, so everyone is good with it, and so we're clear on that. I believe almost everybody here has a vaccine, so we're a little bit more freer when we're not around the public. But we do require you, if you're visiting City Hall or any of the city buildings, as a guest, to wear a mask, unless you're in a private meeting and all parties have the vaccine. And all parties agree to remove masks. So that's the policy for now, and we'll continue until we see more direction from CDC or New York State. And as I said, COVID is still a threat to health and safety. Remember to wear your mask and get vaccinated if you can. I see Mr. Massey either fell asleep or is yawning on me over there. So that's all I have. Any questions?
Any questions for the mayor? Alderman Kleiner.
Could you re-explain them?
Thank you. I'll make this fast, Joe.
Thank you.
I'm reading in the local law where at the end of the local law, it talks about permissive referendum.
Yes.
Does that mean if we pass the local law, it goes to a permissive referendum?
No.
Or is that an option?
That would be called a mandatory referendum. It's subject to permissive referendum, meaning that whatever we adopt, someone from the public can organize a petition and go out and get a certain number of signatures. That number I don't know. And then force the city to place it on the ballot. So that's the meaning of permissive referendum. Okay. If it was mandatory, then we would be required to put it on the ballot.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Remarks of the department head, economic development.
Good evening, everyone. Just a few updates. A reminder that the farmers market is starting this Saturday on Union Street. We're going to start on the street, and then once Erie Way Park is completed, we'll start moving into Erie Way Park. So a new location, and we're looking forward to all the farmers coming back and farm-type vendors. We will be following COVID guidelines as per New York State and CDC. Also, the Paramount Theater, the facade is moving along. I know the doors are arriving, the main doors are arriving tomorrow, so work is progressing very nicely. We are going to start planning our reopening for movies, hopefully sometime in July, so I'm working with the staff down there on our reopening. And like I said, after discussions with the mayor, we're looking to start movies and bring back movies and then keep moving forward as restrictions lighten up. And we do have capacity issues right now for the venue. Also, we're looking at a modified concert series for Festival Square, so we're working on that, and stay tuned. We'll give you more information once we get that out planned. And also, we too have to submit to New York State the safety plan on all these events and reopening, so we're working on all that as well. And that's all I have for tonight.
Much for Maria. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you.
DPW Commissioner.
Good evening, all. I'll start off with Mr. Harvey, his daughter, and his son-in-law. I'm really shocked about what I heard. I've been meeting with Mr. Harvey at his house for a number of years, and to try to resolve issues in the drainage. And we have been resolving issues with the drainage. Every time they call, I go over there and meet with them. Many times they come and meet with me in my office. I'm shocked and disappointed to hear that they feel that the DPW has been picking on them for 10 to 12 years. First time I ever hear of that, and I'm very, very sorry they feel this way. I have a lot of respect for Mr. Harvey. I've met with him, like I said, over the years numerous times. And as a matter of fact, one of the neighbors called about that drainage ditch. The drainage ditch in between, it's in the backyards of houses between Ashland Avenue and Claremont. The backyards slope towards the property line that is shared, obviously, between the two, between the properties. One's on Ashland versus the one on Claremont Court. There's an easement that the city owns, 4 foot on either side of that property line, which we maintain. And every now and then we do get phone calls in there, and they say, oh, the neighbors blocked it or something happened in there. I go personally there, take a look at it, meet with the neighbors, and then we have the right to trespass. We order people to make corrections. We've done that over the years. And as a matter of fact, one of the neighbors called about a month ago or maybe 3 weeks ago. I went there and usually take the deputy commissioner with me, so I took Mr. Brian Smith with me and met with the neighbor. And we listened to the grievance that he had, and then we maintained the ditch in there, we dug it up, we cleared the pipe, found there is a pipe under there, cleared it, we installed new grates on top of the catch basins, and that's within the easement, down the road, downstream from Mr. Harvey's property. So I'm saddened to hear this about somebody potentially picking on them. And we will address that. The mayor and I will address that. We'll make sure that doesn't happen. But it's just totally shocking to me because I've been meeting with this family for years, and we were there 2 weeks ago making some improvement on the drainage ditch. So, you know, it's Mr. Harvey is a dear man to me. I've known him for many years, and I'm saddened personally by him being hurt emotionally about what he thinks happened. So we'll look into it and we'll get to the bottom of it. Moving on to the grass issues in there for Alderman Council President Rodriguez, we sent out 688 letters of notice to cut the grass. Thankfully, 644 residents of the 688, they cut their own grass. And for that, we're very appreciative. And we thank you very much for that and cooperating and heeding the warning when you get our letters. We do appreciate that. The city have cut 37 properties so far, and they built $5,300 of private properties. If somebody sees anything that is out of whack, let me call it this way, very high grass that we missed, please feel free to call us at DPW. You don't have to mention your name or anything like that. Just give us the location, because we can't be there everywhere. We can't be everywhere all the time. Just give us a call, say this property has got high grass, guys. You know, that's the address, and we will attend to it, and we'll make sure it is addressed. So please help us out by reporting any potential violators. The traffic operation project. I'm trying to cover the projects that the mayor did not update you on. The traffic operations in there, the project has been approved by DOT, local projects, the actual design, and now we're waiting for a meeting on June 8th with the county and Orange County Transportation Council, so that we can shift money around within the budget for the Orange County Transportation Council, what they call the TIP, Transportation Improvement Plan. And then this way, that will allow the Federal Highway Administration to give us the notice to proceed to bid the project. Once we have that, hopefully soon after June 8th, we will be able to go out for bid. So we'll advertise the project for bid. Again, that's a $21 million project in there. There is some small local match. And right now, we're just fine-tuning the scope of work to make sure that we can utilize all the funding that's available for us. We're very excited about it. Again, this is about all the signalized intersections in the city of Middletown. They're going to be upgraded and redone with the state-of-the-art traffic operational system and ADA accessible intersections. Covering 250 feet away from each intersection. That's going to be done under this project, curbs and sidewalks and road as well. So I'm going to jump now into the milling and paving program. This year we're doing a very ambitious program in milling and paving. Please visit our website to see what streets are included. We started the milling last week, and we are continuing. And this year, we're doing about 4 to 5 times as much as we've done the previous years, not combined, the annual paving operation, the annual paving program. 4 to 5 times we're doing. So it's a tremendous program for us, and it's in the middle of all the other projects, the curbs and sidewalks and ADA accessibility at the on Dolson Avenue in downtown. So there's a lot of work, tremendous amount of work that is taking place in the city of Middletown. Moving forward, just want to report to you about the, usually I don't update you too much about the water line project, but we have the 20-inch and the 12-inch finished water lines replacement from the water treatment plant all the way down to Manhagan Avenue. This is an extremely important project. We got 2 obstacles there right now. Obstacle number 1 is Orange and Rockland. We met with them a few years ago when we were doing the design. They were supposed to abandon their gas main on Route 211, which is outside the city and inside the city of Middletown. And when they abandon the gas main, they leave it in place. And the deal was, when our contractor comes in, he will remove the abandoned gas main and install the new 20-inch or 24-inch water lines. So when we started doing that, the contractor got up to that point. Orange and Rockland came and they stopped us. They said, wait a minute, this existing gas main is potentially contaminated with PCBs and asbestos. So it has to be abated, it has to be removed properly, and so on and so forth, which is tremendous, shocking news to us. So that held us back a little bit. We were able to find more work for the contractor to do the connection at the water treatment plant. I reported that to you a couple of weeks ago. The connection was made very well and everything went smoothly. Now we're going to be energizing or commissioning these newly installed water lines up to Pilgrim's State entrance. So that's obstacle number 1. We're working with Orange and Rockland. They're going to come in with their own contractors. They promised to get us some information today or by the end of the week, hopefully. And they will bring their own specialty contractors to remove the old gas main, so we can continue putting our new gas main in. We looked at alternate routes. Nothing is very easily, could easily be done without spending much more money. So we're waiting for Orange and Rockland on that. Another issue is in that project is, you may recall back in 2016, DOT, they replaced the culvert that crosses under 211. They shut down the road. They replaced the culvert under New York State 211. At that time, when we started working on the design with them, we told them, hey guys, can you put a pipe for us in there so we don't have to dig up your culvert, because our raw water, our finished water mains that goes through there. So they said, yeah, sure, well, we'll do it. So they've done it in 2016. We have a PE stamp, pressure testing and disinfection, all the certification required. We're happy. We were planning for years when we come in, like we're doing now, to go under the brook. We wanted to avoid going under the brook. So fast forward, the project taking place right now. We're pressure testing the pipe that DOT installed for us. Unfortunately, it's been failing. So we've been digging down joint by joint by joint in there to try to tighten it, to find out what the issues are, and it's costing us some money. So it goes to say, the saying goes, you get what you pay for. We got it for free, and unfortunately, we're paying for it now. But it's very unfortunate. But these are the two obstacles. We're trying to work on them and fix the leak on the bypass that goes under the brook, so we don't have to deal with the DEC and stream disturbance permit and going through the brook and so on and so forth. With that being said, please listen to what the mayor said, to his advice with the garbage cans. Try to put your garbage just on one can. After, I believe he said June 13th. After that, the garbage outside the can is going to stay there, and you're going to get violations for it. And penalties are relatively steep. We don't want to do it, so please just bear that in mind. With that, if you have any questions for me.
Any questions for Jacob? I did get a text message that department heads should have a time limit. Just saying. Thank you, Jacob.
Yeah.
Police chief.
Good evening. I'm going to be sort of a broken record over the next couple meetings in regards to the fireworks, the enforcement aspects of it. Just want to once again get it out there that it is against the law here in the city of Middletown to possess, use, light them, so on and so forth, and to sell them. As I mentioned last meeting, we will be doing some compliance enforcement on that, as well as city code enforcement going forward. Something else that we're dealing with here frequently now with the nice weather is the ATVs and dirt bikes. We are dealing with a challenge with them, and I am asking members of the public to try to help us with that. What I mean is, if you could tell us where they're coming from, where they're going to, if you know anybody, any type of information, you could be supplying us with the missing piece of the puzzle that will help us put an end to the nuisance that arises with the ATVs and the dirt bikes. And as the mayor mentioned before, the smoking in the parks, that is not permitted in most parks right now, and we are looking to extend that. We are working with the city code or city council on that currently. Other than that, I have nothing unless you have questions for me.
Any questions for the police chief? Alderman Tobin?
Have you had a chance to look at the Poughkeepsie law they just passed about dirt bikes, or is it any?
So what they're
opinion on
doing
that?
is, I actually called up there myself the other day. They're actually looking to adopt the same law that this council adopted last year. It's going before their board. I did speak with their detective that was in charge of this last detail that was published in the newspaper. One thing that made them effective in that was that they used aerial surveillance through the use of drones. So that is something that we are looking into as well now, because there's a lot of dangers with pursuing those vehicles, so that's a unique way to try to combat them. But the biggest thing I think is having members of the public really help us by identifying the locations where they're coming from and to. You're welcome.
Anyone else? Thank you, chief.
Thank you.
Okay, city clerk.
At the direction of the mayor, today I sent out an email to everyone about the parking plan for downtown. If it's up to you if you guys want to have a public hearing, I will need to know that. That is the final draft so far. If there's any changes that you want to make, correct, Mayor, to let us know. And if you want to schedule a public hearing and when you want that public hearing to be. Thank you.
Any questions for John? All right. Remarks of Alderman Massey.
I just want to thank American Legion Post 151 yesterday for their program on Memorial Day. And I'd like to say that of all the speeches yesterday, the mayor's was the most moving and the most honest and the best speech of all.
Alderman Tobin?
I'd like to talk about the opt-out local law. I'd like to thank the mayor for being open to different opinions. I was one of the folks that emailed him. I'm against opting out. I'm just going to kind of lay out why. I normally don't speak a lot, but tonight I'm going to do a little bit more. I don't think it's more of a quality of life issue. I think it's more of a civil rights issue, more of a racial justice issue. For a long time, marijuana, or not that I'm pro pot or anything, but I realized that people do smoke it. But it was thought of as a gateway drug, but really it's been a gateway for many people of color into the criminal justice system. And it's a clear example of what we call systematic racism, whereas we can't point to one officer or one law that was over policing marijuana. If you look at the statistics, you can see the systematic racism. Just last year, New Yorkers of color made up 94% of the cannabis-related arrests and summons in 2020. People of color are 4 times more likely to be arrested for use of cannabis when they use it the same rate as white folks. So there's definitely, when you look at the statistics, clearly there's some kind of systematic racism at place. The new law will prioritize social equity programs and community investment funds and grants. They're projecting $75 million for local government, and I do remain skeptical. I understand what the mayor's saying. Sometimes they promise a lot and they under-deliver. But as it is now, 40% of the tax revenue will go to public education, 40% to community-related reinvestment funds, and 20% to drug treatment. And this money could be used for nonprofits or for job placement, adult education, housing initiatives, and community reinvestment grants, and focusing on communities that have been disproportionately impacted by the cannabis prohibition. And I think this use of these funds could help fix the collateral consequences of cannabis convictions from the last 90 years and reverse some of those harms. That's why I think it's more of a social justice issue. And maybe these funds could be used for economic development for folks that have been harmed by the over-policing. And I do fear that maybe the town of Wallkill or Wawayanda will opt in or not opt out, and then we'll have Pot Depot on the highway. We'll have one maybe in Playtog Plaza, which is town of Wallkill, or maybe one on 211, and those communities, and maybe Wawayanda especially, not minority majority communities, will be getting funding that really is earmarked for people of color that have been suffered from over policing. Not that our police department has anything to do with it. Talk about the systematic racism. And I would like to hear from the black community, and I'd like to maybe, hopefully the people that were convened for the Police Community Commission could come back in, and so to hear from the people that this law is focusing on trying to help or right the wrongs of the past. So I'll be voting against that tonight, but I do hope to hear from the community before we move forward. Thank you.
Alderman Green?
Thank you very much. I do hope everyone enjoyed their Memorial Day and took a moment to reflect on the true meaning of it and why we were able to be here and enjoy the day. I also will just point out that we have not next Monday, but Monday the 14th, which is in fact Flag Day as well. So Monday the 14th at 7 p.m. here in City Hall, we will have our second ward constituents meeting, and it will be again here in City Hall for the first time in a while. So again, that's 7 p.m. on Monday the 14th. Thank you.
Alderman Johnson?
Thank you. Mr. Tobin, you gave me a lot of food for thought on the cannabis conversation. My first blush is to opt out. I think conceptually you make a lot of good points. My concern as a public policy guy around for a while, implementation may not live up to the expectations of conceptualization. I like the idea that we could opt in. I hear what you're saying, that we may have lost the economic impetus to opt in when everybody else has already done that. I have to think about that. I have not seen it through those eyes. I've seen it through the eyes of trying to regulate and maintain order in our community. So I'll give it a lot of food for thought. I agree with Mr. Massey. I think the mayor did a good job. I think it was a good ceremony. There was a lot of clarification that Veterans Day and Memorial Day are 2 different days, and they're not the same thing. They're not about the same thing. And I think a point was made that some people that need to pay attention to Memorial Day, they've returned home in a virtual coffin, not a real one, because they have PTSD and all the issues that come about, including suicide for those people. So I think that was a point well taken. Parking, I don't need a public hearing. I think we're good. We had a town meeting. We discussed it. So for me personally, I'm okay with that. On a lighter note, the governor rescinded, if you're a pet owner, the governor rescinded the curbside mandate for veterinarians last Monday. And I had a gentleman who was sitting in my office Friday and said, wow, this is so cool. I said, you realize how sad that is, that you think it's cool that you're sitting inside your veterinarian's office. But we'll take it for what it's worth. Dreamland, I did watch that, part of it. You know, Black Lives Matter has been around for a while now, and everybody has their own interpretation of what exactly that means, or should mean, or shouldn't mean, or should we have it or not have it. But when you watch that particular series and you hear an interview with a woman who is 106 years old, who remembers the day that people came and lit her house on fire while she was in it. That woman is in our country today, remembering that. So when she says Black Lives Matter, I think she's coming from a different background than others. And it's another thing, as they said for 100 years, the solution was, well, let's just not talk about it. So I guess we need to. Thank you.
Alderman Consume.
Good evening. I'll be really quick. I just wanted to touch briefly on the people who came in this evening from Claremont. I personally was out there a number of years ago, so I was a little bit my own shock on it because it is the first I'm hearing of it again. This was prior to the work on the sewer project at behind Bunnell, which we thought was going to alleviate some of the real drainage issues that affect Ashland and Claremont. And I'm sad that it's not a resolved issue and something we have to continue to maintain. Jacob, I'm relieved to hear that is being addressed when it's brought to your attention regularly, because I know that you and I have walked that together, those properties, that area. So it's definitely a struggle for the people that live there. Just on a personal note, as a pool owner, that is the first I've ever heard that we violate people for having water on their pool cover, because you're talking about the state of my pool cover the entire winter. So that's a little concerning and alarming that has happened. So I'm sure there is code that backs that up. I just didn't know that was something we were doing, but that's news to me. Hopefully that, now that this has been brought to the city's attention, we can take a closer look at what's going on in that area and what's happening with them. As for that, I'm going to keep it short tonight, and I hope everyone has a good evening.
Alderman Kleiner.
Thank you. The Memorial Day celebrations, I went to both because usually we go from the town of Walk Hill down to Thrall Park, or from Thrall Park up to the town of Walk Hill, and they're both very good. So, it's the Walk Hill Middletown Veterans Council. And the emphasis this year really was very much on Memorial Day, remembering that it started as Decoration Day, and it was decorating the graves, and it was honoring and remembering those people who gave their lives fighting for this country. So it was good to hear that. It was good to hear that appreciation of it, and it was more solemn that way. And after not having really any events last year, it was just good to be out and be with the veterans again and hear the ceremony. I want to thank the mayor. I agree very much with having a public hearing. I was going to request that we put this in committee or do something that we discuss this, whether to opt in, opt out. I actually heard a lot about that during Memorial Day. I mean, a few people came up to me and said, are you really opting out? In terms of there's so many sides to the issue. There's the extra training that you might need. police chief talked about the DRE training, and I would hope it would do some of that anyway, because as Alderman Tobin said, we're going to be surrounded by it even if we do opt out. Middletown's famous for having a bar in every corner and a bar in the middle of every block, basically. That's what it's been. It's been a blue-collar town. So we certainly have had alcohol consumption. This is a different issue, and we don't allow public alcohol consumption, but this apparently would allow public smoking any place it's not banned. So there are a lot of things to talk about, and I thank the mayor for approaching all sides of it, and I hope we'll have set a public hearing and hear from the public on this and have a better idea of what's involved. As Alderman Johnson said, 100 years ago, this was actually 100 years, the second day of the Tulsa Massacre. And people were massacred just because they had been successful, just because they had built their own community, and just because it wasn't supposed to happen, because they were supposed to be inferior. And so that kind of hatred, we see it popping its ugly head up around the country here and there. It's not gone away. And I hope we continue to understand democracy is fragile and we need to protect it. And I will see you hopefully on Flag Day on June 14th, right here at 7 p.m. for our constituents meeting. I'm glad to be back doing one inside. So anyone can come to those meetings. Thank you.
Alderman John Francois.
Yes, good evening. Lately, we've been having a few fires in the 4th Ward. We had one on Wood Lake and also Concord Lane. I'd like to thank the first responders, the police department, and also our firemen and women who's putting their lives out there on a daily basis for what they do. We had few families that's been dispensed and hurt by the fire that's been out of their homes. So it's a tragedy when these things happen. Luckily, nobody got hurt, but I would like to thank the fire department for putting their stuff out there on a daily basis and for what they do. Thank you.
Alderman Burr.
Quick, nothing this evening.
All right. Just to go back to the local law, we're talking about opting out, not enforcing. Mayor, can you just clarify a couple of things on the local law?
Yeah, I appreciate the dialogue, but I think it's a little misleading. You're convoluting the state law with the local law. The city of Middletown, by opting out of the sale in the dispensaries and the cafes, or say the marijuana hookah lounge, is not saying that someone cannot possess marijuana in Middletown. That's totally misleading. That's a state law. That's not talking about expunging the record. Those are all statewide effects that the state legislature and the governor decided were important, and I might agree with some of them regarding the expunging of certain records. That has nothing to do with Middletown opting out. So if Middletown opts out of the legislation, it doesn't mean people in Middletown don't have their record expunged if they have a conviction for that low-level pot dealing. This is strictly the consumption, and it's two parts what I'm proposing. One is the local law to opt out, and that is for the retail sale and the on-site consumption. So I don't know the on-site. You have this vision of a hookah lounge, of people going in smoking pot and then coming out into your downtown. I don't think it's a good fit. But we'll have the public hearing on that. But it absolutely is not prohibiting you from complying or from exercising your rights under the state law, whether we agree with it or not, for public pot consumption, for home cultivation of cannabis, the expunging of records. So I don't see I'm hoping that the feedback won't be from that direction, because that's an argument and a debate that was had and was won by advocates of people who wanted to legalize marijuana on the state level. What I hope the argument or discussion is, or the dialogue is what's good for Middletown, New York. And the fact that Wawayanda has a pot store, they also have an adult bookstore maybe, or they also have certain other things that are not something that you want to see in your downtown, because I'm sure that's where the focus is going to be the downtown area. Or I'm sure that regardless of the skin color of the person smoking, that I don't care if they're black or white, I don't want that person, that 21-year-old, standing next to the 10-year-old at the skate park smoking pot, or at Watts Park smoking pot. I think we need to listen to our police. This has nothing to do with expunging of the records. This has nothing to do whatsoever in reinvestment of the state monies back into the black and brown communities. Alderman Tobin raised the issue of what are we going to take? We're going to take that money that's generated locally and invest it where? In black and brown communities? Hello, Middletown is 70%, 80% black and brown. That's our population. I think it's more, you can look at it almost like if you're a fan of the Godfather movies, I have a little trouble with the argument that by selling pot and making pot available to people to smoke publicly, and Jerry made a good point, it's not like it's controlled like alcohol, this is free, is good. And then to then circle around and use some of that money for drug treatment. Invest in drug treatment. Don't sell pot to fund drug treatment. Those are my larger beliefs. But if you watch the Godfather movie, there's a message. And the message was directed at the black and brown community when narcotics were first big in the United States of America. And when the underground, when the mob got involved in the sale of narcotics, who did they target? They targeted the black and brown community. It's a fact. You can see it in any of the documentaries that you see on how drugs were sold. And I mean, and it's an argument that black and brown communities have made for years, is that you've channeled these illegal narcotics, heroin and cocaine, into the black and brown community, and you destroyed them. And I'm not saying that by selling pot here is going to destroy us, because people are still going to be able to smoke pot. I think it's a bad message. I think we have a program like DARE where we're going into the schools and telling kids not to do certain things. And then we as a body are going to say for a few bucks out of a $55 million budget, that maybe $100,000 and $150,000 is more important than sending that message. You want to go out in the town of Waukegan and buy a joint or buy whatever the hell you want to buy and go smoke it in your house, do so. But if you go out in the town of Waukegan and come back and smoke it next to our skate park, you're going to get arrested no matter what color you are. That's my program and my policy. So I'm interested in what the public has to say. I don't know if they're all going to come out, but it's a good viewpoint. But I think the discussion has to stay focused on what opting out means. That argument about taxation, about reinvestment, about all those things are had on the state level. This is strictly about opting out here in Middletown. Do you want to see on Franklin Square a bong in the window and a building full of people smoking pot? That's the decision you have to make. And I hope we'll have a more thorough discussion on it.
Thank you, Mayor, for the clarification. New business.
We have a resolution sponsored by Alderman Massey to authorize the mayor to sign the 2020 sponsor authorization form for the Middletown firefighters LoSAP program.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman Massey, seconded by Alderman Consul. Any discussion? Roll.
Ram Kazoon.
Aye.
Tobin.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
John Francois.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
Massey.
Aye.
President Rodriguez.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Resolution sponsored by Alderman Tobin, authorizing the issuance of an additional $115,000 bonds to pay part of the cost of the Sterling Street Sewer Improvement Project.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman Tobin, seconded by Alderman John Francois. Any discussion? Roll.
Ram Kasoon.
Aye.
Tobin.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
John Francois.
Aye.
Burr. Green.
Aye.
Massey.
Aye.
President Rodriguez.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Resolution sponsored by Alderman Green to authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with St. Paul's Church allowing the city access to their parking lot.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman Green, second by Alderman Kleiner. Any discussion? Roll.
Graham Cassoon.
Aye.
Tobin.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
John Francois.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
Massey.
Aye.
President Rodriguez.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Resolution sponsored by Alderman Johnson to approve the Equilibrium Brewery to lease the garage owned by the city at 12 South Street.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman Johnson, second by Alderman Consoom. Any discussion? Roll.
Graham Cassoon.
Aye.
Tobin.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
John Francois.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
Massey.
Aye.
President Rodriguez.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Resolution sponsored by Alderwoman Ram Kasoon to authorize the mayor to sign the Young Explosives Fireworks Exhibition Agreement, which will be held on Friday, July 2nd, 2021.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman Ray Consoom, second by Alderman Kleiner. Any discussion? Roll.
Ram Kasoon.
Aye.
Tobin.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
John Francois.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
Massey.
Aye.
President Rodriguez.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Resolution sponsored by Alderman Kleiner to authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with Cherry Road Technologies to provide technology investment assessment services for the city.
Resolution sponsored by Alderman Kleiner, second by Alderman Green. Any discussion? Roll.
Graham Cassoon.
Aye.
Tobin.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
John Francois.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
Massey.
Aye.
President Rodriguez. Resolution passes. That is all for new business.
Local law.
Here we have an introduction only tonight, sponsored by Alderman Massey. It's an introduction of local law number 1 of 2021, a local law opting out of the establishment of cannabis retail dispensary licenses and on-site consumption licenses within the city of Middletown.
Okay. Audit.
Mr. President, I move the accounts be audited, the claims be adjusted, and the city treasurer be authorized to issue warrants for their payment.
Resolution by Alderman Massey, second by Alderman Johnson. Roll.
Graham Cassoon.
Aye.
Tobin.
Aye.
Kleiner.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
John Francois.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
Massey.
Aye.
President Rodriguez.
Aye.
Resolution passes.
Move for adjournment.
So moved.